Hello everyone, welcome to the Spill the Tea series by Discover, where we get personal with everyday people's money situationships. I'm your host, Iván Emilio, and today we're talking to three amazing guests who travel the world for their hobbies, and we'll share how they make it all possible. First, we got Jasmine, Danny, and finally we have Suyan. As someone who is always on the move, I'm eager to learn a tip or two for managing my own expenses. Are you all ready to spill?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Suyan, aka Sue's Foods, and I'm a big foodie, so I love traveling for food.
Hi, I'm Jasmine, lover of travel, mom of 2 kids, so I teach you how to travel as a family.
Danny here. I'm helping you save money and learn to travel the 2026 World Cup here in the USA, Canada, and Mexico.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Now let's talk business. Okay. Why don't you tell me what inspired you all to prioritize travel in your life?
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell this story, but when I was a kid, it was really a movie that inspired me. It's something I always wanted to do growing up, and once I became an adult, just made sure to prioritize it.
As a kid, as a fan of soccer, wanting to go see, the national teams, go see a World Cup in person and just be able to enjoy that experience.
I feel like for me, I just love trying new things, whether that's like going to a new country or trying like a new dish I've never tried before.
How do you manage to travel while still, having responsibilities and bills and other expenses that are not as luxurious as traveling?
We can make all the money in the world, but if it's spoken for, then, we're gonna be more constrained. So for us, we try and be very intentional, not only about what expenses we'll take on, but at what size those bills are, again, to be able to have that flexibility to travel or even do something fun at home. If we wanna go out to eat or go shopping, it all comes with good planning.
When you're traveling, what is more of a priority, where you stay or what you do there?
I feel like when I travel, I like to prioritize what I do there.
Okay.
But I think especially when I solo travel, like when I was in Europe for 2 months, I basically lived out of a backpack, did hostels for 2 months.
Nice. I'm a little bit more of the adventurous person, so whenever I'm traveling with my wife, and there happens to be a soccer game, that's one of the nights we go to the soccer game, and it was an experience for her too.
Where we stay is wholly important, but ultimately travel is about the experience. In some ways it's equally important. I don't want to stay in a really fancy house somewhere and we haven't done anything. We like to be somewhere that's really, really safe because we are traveling with children. Yeah. And we also need somewhere that's comfortable because we are traveling with children.
What is one thing that you're doing financially now to ensure that you can still travel and live with your passion 10, 15, 20 years from now?
So for me, I take a % of every paycheck that I get and I put it into a savings account. And every time I go on a trip, I just pull from that fund, and that's like my travel fund basically.
It's just keeping our expenses low and being really intentional. Like, I drove the car that I had from college till the wheels fell off. Wow. I had 2 kids in a small car, and it's like, for me, like I said, it's just minimizing expenses.
How many trips have you each taken for your respective interests? Do you know? Do you keep track of them?
Probably not.
Too many to count. Yeah.
Too many to count. No, I would say probably once or twice a year I'm traveling to a game intentionally.
We try and take anywhere between like 2 and 4 trips a year. I usually say like once a quarter I need a little bit of a refresh.
For me, I think 3 to 4 times a year as well. Not necessarily to a location just for the food, but whenever I do go on a trip, I do want to try the local food.
How do you make your money go further while traveling?
We found food to be the easiest way to cut back on total costs. We'll usually be in a house or something like that, and we buy groceries for the week. Nice. When it comes to my monthly finances, I have a slot in there for groceries. And so I take that money and apply it when I'm on vacation as well, and that allows us to not have to include things like food. Of course, we'll go to a restaurant and things like that, but I'd say cutting down the cost on food, especially with a family of 4. Yeah. Having to buy, drinks and dinner, and all those expenses increase when you have kids because you're talking about even more people.
Yeah, I can totally see that because you have 2 kids that you have to take in consideration.
Yes.
And even though they like their chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, when you're traveling, those are expensive sometimes.
Yes,
so you might as well cook it at home. And what is one surprising way that you've saved money while traveling that it was totally unexpected?
I feel like every single meal doesn't have to be like the best meal possible. For breakfast, I'll just go to like the local grocery store, have like a yogurt or something. It's not that big of a deal.
And sometimes the corner store have incredible hot dogs. And
Exactly.
you might be surprised.
There's this saying in Spanish, hay comida en la casa, there's food at home, right? And so, especially if I'm going to some soccer games here in the US where the concession stands are insanely expensive, I'm gonna have some food at home, and then if I have to drink something, fine, I'll get like a soda or something at the game.
So Danny, can you give us an inside scoop on your strategy? Because you're trying to make it to the World Cup in 2026. How is your strategy looking like right now and when it comes to finances?
Saving money for a thing that's happening years away while you got, you know, some expenses you got to deal with at home. It's all about just keeping the effort. Just start and be committed to the project.
So clearly you're all very passionate about prioritizing travel in your budget. So what is your main reason to travel?
You only have one life, and there is so much on this planet to explore, and I really want to see it all. This is almost like a way to prove to myself that if I set my mind to it, it's something that I can do.
I think for me, I just love trying new things, and I feel like having been on these trips, I feel like kind of fuels my passion to travel more, because now I know like so much more of the world, and I know there's so much more out there.
It gives perspective on just how big the world
It feels
is.
so small.
Yeah, there's so many people out there, so many places, and it also, like, on the day-to-day, it's like, wow, this problem is so small in comparison to how big this world is.
So if you have a day job, how do you balance that while also prioritizing traveling?
For my plan for 2026, I'm not expecting to be able to take all 6 weeks off. It's probably going to be maybe 1 week fully off, and then on the weekends go to these other games too.
For me, I actually graduated college last year, so when I was a student, it was very easy to just go on a trip for like a month during summer break, winter break. But now I recently started my first job out of college, so I think it's a lot about planning early in advance and making sure like your team knows that you're going to be gone during that time.
Yeah, working remote, and for me being self-employed, I have the flexibility, but work still has to get done. As much as you might see on social media going here, here, and there, what you don't see is the 40 hours work the previous week or the meeting that I had to take in between these two excursions.
Well, any final tips that you have for someone who is thinking about traveling and is scared because they think they're gonna have to drop a ton of money?
Budget, get a budget spreadsheet going. It could just be on a notebook. Start figuring out what you're spending your money on, where can you start cutting back if that's where you need to, you know, plug your financial hole in, but get that budget going.
And also don't get caught up on what you see on social media. Like, be realistic with your finances. If you can't afford a 5-star hotel and 1,000,001 experiences, that doesn't mean you don't have to travel. Stay in a hostel that's more affordable, buy groceries at the local grocery store, do whatever allows you to ultimately have that experience. But in order for you to know what you can or can't afford, it all starts with budgeting and being in the know with finances.
Well, I'm taking mental notes right now. Thank you for sharing all your experience. I feel super inspired, so thank you so much. That wraps up today's episode of the Spill the Tea series by Discover. A big thank you to our incredible guests for sharing how travel can be possible for all with planning and prioritizing. We hope you found some inspiration and practical advice to help you make the most of your own travel adventures. Until next time, and safe travels, everyone.